Now, to go back to Medina Munawwara, accounts in terms of history that we do not recognize that history is a progression into some kind of millennialist Valhalla at the end of the historical process. So history doesn't go like this. Actually, history reached already its peak, and it went down ever since, in cycles. So up and down, but a gentle decline. So we are not going up. Therefore, if we want to find what is the perfection of society, we don't look into the future, we look into the past. And that past is Medina Munawwara. That is a change of historical perspective. Because if you recognize Medina as the center of history, then the interpretation of political events and historical events will change therefore and forever. Something that needs to be done. The recognition, in order to be able to do that, in order to understand therefore in the analysis of the historical process our own time, which is the most important, what you need is to understand the model. And to understand the model, a living model, is not sufficient with knowing what is haram and what is halal. You need to understand the practice. You need to understand how the things were done. Today, we have reduced the knowledge of these affairs to understanding what is forbidden. And even that has difficulties. But there is very little understanding of what is the practice, what is halal, regarding money, for example. And before you say the banks are haram, you need to know what is halal. Before you say paper money, the dollar is haram, you have to say what is halal. And here comes dinar, dirham, markets, caravans, souks, guilds, kirat, shirkat, waqf, a whole constellation of ideas that they have no reality anymore. So the process of understanding and the process of putting these matters forward is a process of acting upon them. To put them in action means to take one little bit and put it into action, and then you will find the path for the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So we are talking about a very important affair that changes the way we look into Islam, and it will change the way in which Islam approaches the modern days. What we say and what we do by the virtue of mentioning the word AMALAT is asking for a revolution in the way and forms of everything that is before your eyes. We have one advantage, is that in these affairs that we have, in the muamalat that is established today, that since it's based on riba, since capitalism is based on riba, it has to undertake a very big challenge in its own, which is that Allah has declared war on riba. So therefore, capitalism cannot succeed. It can only go from crisis to crisis to crisis until its ultimate crisis arrives, which we seem to be very close to, in fact. And not because capitalism is becoming smaller, but it's actually becoming, because it's getting bigger. And so when it reaches its maximum potential, it will start to cataclysmically collapse. It is collapsing all the time. The capitalism is in continuous crisis. So it's a ruin. It's a ruin that is growing because there is absence of anything else. But if you examine the economy of the world today, the economy of the leading countries is an economy which is in complete disaster, is bankrupt. United States is bankrupt, completely bankrupt. The European Union is bankrupt. Now we have the case of Greece, which is very important to understand. It is the first case of one nation, not the first, the second in fact, but significant because of the outcome in which the country having been indebted themselves with this thing called national debt, the principle by which the people of the nation are responsible for the debts created by the politicians. That I have to pay for a debt incurred by somebody else. That somebody born today in Malaysia comes to the world already owing somebody the amount of XXX. This idea, which has nothing to do with Islam, is contrary to us, is a principle, it's a foundational principle on which the modern state is based and on which the modern economy runs. Without this debt, the economy cannot run. That is extraordinary to understand. It sounds a little bit odd, but you have to start from understanding that money is a debt in the first place. What you have in your hands is somebody owing. It's not money in the form of gold or silver or anything that we knew before. It's only a debt. So therefore, the increasing of debt, surprisingly, increases the amount of currency in circulation, and therefore increases liquidity, has certain good effects. So national debt is part of this setup, and is foundational to the way in which modern states are based. In fact, the first act that the government of the newly constituted Bosnia had to undertake as government was the establishment of the debt of Bosnia.